Leo Tolstoy's Anna Karenina, Part 6, in which all our protagonists find the thin veneer of tranquility in their lives, tested by family and friends, with farcical and tragic consequences. Chapter 20. "Well, here's Dolly for you, Princess. You wanted so much to see her," said Anna, coming out with Darya Alexandrovna to the big stone terrace where Princess Varvara was sitting in the shade of her embroidery frame, making a chair seat for Count Alexei Kirillovitch. "She says she wants nothing before dinner, but you order lunch to be served, and I'll go and find Alexei and bring them all here." Princess Varvara received Dolly benignly and somewhat condescendingly, and at once began explaining to her that she was living with Anna because she had always loved Anna more than had her sister Katerina Pavlovna, the one who had brought Anna up. And now, when everyone had abandoned Anna, she considered it her duty to help her in this most difficult transitional period. "Her husband will give her a divorce, and then I shall go back into my seclusion. But now I can be of use, and however hard it is for me, I shall fulfill my duty, not like some others. And how nice of you, but what a good thing you've done to come. They live just like the best of couples. It's for God to judge them, not us. Aren't Bierozovsky and Madame Aveniev, and Nikandrov himself, and Vasiliev, and Madame Mamonov, and Lisa Neptunov, and has anyone ever said anything? And it ended with everyone receiving them. And then, c'est un intérieur si joli, si comme il flotte, tout fait l'anglais. On s'est réunis le matin à breakfast, et puis on s'est séparés. Everyone does what he likes till dinner. Dinner is at 7. Stephen did very well to send you. He must stick by them. You know, though his mother and brother, he can do anything. And then they do so much good. Hasn't he told you about his hospital? Ce sera admirable. Everything comes from Paris." Their conversation was interrupted by Anna, who had found the men gathered in the billiard room and returned with them to the terrace. There was still a long time till dinner, and as the weather was fine, several ways were suggested for passing the remaining 2 hours. There were a great many ways of passing the time in Vodvenchisko, and they were all different from what was done at Pokrovska. "Une partie de lawn tennis," Veslovsky suggested, smiling his handsome smile. "We can be partners again, Anna Arkadyevna." "No, it's too hot. Better to stroll in the garden and go for a boat ride to show Darya Alexandrovna the banks." "I'm agreeable to everything," said Zvyazhky. "I think Dolly would like most to take a stroll, isn't that right? And then go for a boat ride?" So it was decided. Veslovsky and Tushkevich went to the bathing house and promised to get the boat ready there and wait for them. They walked down the path in 2 pair. Anna was Zvyazhky and Dolly with Vronsky. Dolly was slightly embarrassed and worried in the totally new milieu in which she found herself. Abstractly, theoretically, she not only justified but even approved of what Anna had done. Weary of the monotony of a moral life, as irreproachably moral women in general often are, she not only excused criminal love from a distance, but even envied it. Besides, she loved Anna from the heart. But in reality, seeing her among these people she found so alien, with their good tone that was so new for her, she felt awkward. It was especially unpleasant for her to see Princess Varvara, who forgave them everything for the sake of the comfort she enjoyed. In general, Abstractly, Dolly approved of what Anna had done, but to see the man for whose sake she had done it was unpleasant for her. Besides, she had never liked Vronsky. She considered him very proud, and saw nothing in him that he could be proud of except his wealth. But against her will, here in his own house, he impressed her still more than before, and she could not be comfortable with him. She felt with him as she had felt with the maid about the chemise, as she had felt not so much ashamed as ill at ease with the maid about the patches, so with him she felt not so much ashamed as ill at ease about herself. Dolly felt embarrassed and searched for a topic of conversation. She thought that he, with his pride, was sure to find praise of his house and garden displeasing, but unable to come up with anything else, she told him all the same that she liked his house very much. "Yes, it's a very handsome building, and in the good old style," he said. "I like the courtyard in front of the porch very much. Is that how it was?" "Oh, no," he said, and his face lit up with pleasure. "You should have seen that courtyard in the spring." And cautiously at first, but then more and more enthusiastically, he began to draw her attention to various details of the embellishment of the house and garden. One could see that, having devoted much work to improving and embellishing his estate, Vronsky felt a need to boast of it before a new person, and was heartily glad of Darya Alexandrovna's praise. "If you're not tired and would like to have a look at the hospital, it's not far. Let's go," he said, glancing at her face to be sure that she was indeed not bored. "Will you come, Anna?" He turned to her. "Yes, we'll come, won't we?" She turned to Zviazhsky. "Mailne fotpas, laiser le povre Vasolsky et Tushkevich, se mo fondre la danne la batu. Send somebody to tell them. Yes, he'll leave it behind as a memorial," said Anna, turning to Dolly with the same sly, knowing smile as when she had spoken in the hospital earlier. "Oh, a capital affair," said Zviazhsky, but to avoid seeming to fall in with Vronsky, he had once added a slightly deprecatory observation. "I'm astonished, though, Count, that you, who are doing so much for the people in the sanitary respect, are so indifferent to schools." "C'est devenu tellement comme l'école," said Vronsky. "It's not because of that, you understand. I just got carried away. This way to the hospital." He turned to Darya Alexandrovna, pointing to a side path off the avenue. The ladies opened their parasols and went down the side path. After making several turns and passing through the gate, Darya Alexandrovna saw arise before her a large, red, fancifully designed and nearly completed building. The still unpainted iron roof shone dazzlingly in the bright sun. Beside the completed building another one, surrounded by scaffolding, was under construction, and on the planks workmen in aprons were laying bricks, taking mortar from troughs and smoothing it with trowels. "How quickly your work's going," said Zviazhsky. "The last time I was here there was no roof yet." "It will all be done by the autumn. The interior is nearly finished now." "And what's this new one?" "This will house the doctor in the dispensary," Vronsky replied, and seeing the architect on his short coat coming toward them, he excused himself to the ladies and went to meet him. Sidestepping a trough from which the workmen took lime, he stopped with the architect and heatedly began telling him something. "The pediment still comes out too low," he answered Anna, who had asked him what was the matter. "I kept saying the foundation had to be raised," said Anna. "Yes, certainly that would have been better, Anna Arkadyevna," said the architect, "but it's too late now." "Yes, I'm very interested in it," Anna replied to Zviazhsky, who had expressed surprise at her knowledge of architecture. The new building ought to correspond to the hospital, but it was thought of later and begun without a plan. When he finished talking with the architect, Vronsky joined the ladies and showed them into the hospital. Though they were still working on the cornices outside and the ground floor was still being painted, upstairs almost everything was done. Having climbed the wide cast-iron stairway to the landing, they went into the first big room. The walls had been plastered, looked like marble, enormous plate-glass windows had already been installed, only the parquet floor was not yet finished, and the joiners, who were planning as square as they had removed, stopped work and took off their headbands to greet the gentlefolk. "This is the reception room," said Vronsky. "It will have a desk, a table, a cupboard, and that's all." "Here, come this way. Don't go near the window," said Anna, testing whether the paint was dry. "The paint's already dry, Alexei," she added. From the reception room they went into the corridor. Here Vronsky showed them the new ventilation system he had installed. Then he showed them marble baths, beds with extraordinary springs. Then, one after the other, he showed them the wards, the storeroom, the linen room, then stoves of some new construction, special carts that would make no noise when conveying necessary things through the corridors, and much more. Sviazhsky appreciated it all like one familiar with all the new improvements. Dolly was simply surprised at what she had never seen before, and, wishing to understand it all, asked about everything in great detail, which obviously pleased Vronsky very much. "Yes, I think this will be the only quite properly set up hospital in Russia," said Sviazhsky. "And won't you have a maternity ward?" asked Dolly. "It's so needed in the country. I often—" In spite of his courtesy, Vronsky interrupted her. "This is not a maternity home. It's a hospital, and meant for all illnesses except infectious ones," he said. "And take a look at this." He wheeled a newly ordered convalescent chair up to Darya Alexandrovna. "Watch now." He sat in the chair and began moving it. "He can't walk. He's weak on his bad legs, but he needs air, and so he wheels himself about in it." Darya Alexandrovna was interested in it all, liked it all very much, but most of all she liked Vronsky himself with his natural, naive passion. "Yes, he's a very nice, good man," she thought occasionally, not listening to him but trying to penetrate his expression, and mentally putting herself inside Anna. She now liked him so much in his animation that she understood how Anna could fall in love with him. If you enjoy this format, please leave a like and subscribe and return tomorrow for the next chapter.